everyone! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren from A Menagerie of Stitches. In today's video, we're going to be making this cute beginner-friendly pumpkin. I love making these in all sorts of colors to decorate my home with. In this video, I'm going to show you step-by-step how to make this pumpkin. If you prefer a written pattern, you can purchase the PDF on my website, amenagerieofstitches.com. I'll have a link down below in the description. To get started, you're going to need yarn, of course. For this pumpkin, I'm using Hobbii Friends Cotton 8/4 in the color Whiskey, and for the stem, I'm using Ash Brown. This is a super fine weight yarn, or level 1. You can use any type of yarn that you'd like, just make sure that you change your hook size if you use a thicker yarn. You're going to need just one skein of each color. One skein of Whiskey will actually give you 3 pumpkins. You'll also need a 2.75mm crochet hook, black embroidery floss and a needle, a yarn needle, a stitch marker, straight pins, a pair of 8mm safety eyes, scissors, and some fiberfill stuffing. The description below will have the full material list. For this pattern, you'll need to know how to make a magic ring, how to single crochet, and how to invisible decrease. Video tutorials for how to do these techniques can also be found in the description below. Starting with round 1, we're going to make 6 single crochet into a magic ring. So I'm just going to make my magic ring. And now I'm going to place 6 single crochets inside of it. And then pull my tail to close the ring. Now for round 2, we're going to increase in each stitch around, so make 2 single crochet in every single stitch for a total of 12. Alright, so that's the end of round 2. Now I'm going to place my stitch marker in that last stitch. And now it's time to move on to round 3. Round 3 is going to say single crochet 1, increase 6 times for 18 stitches. So you're going to place 1 single crochet into the first stitch. In the next stitch, you're going to increase by placing 2 single crochets in that stitch. You're going to do that, repeat all the way around until you have 18 stitches. So 1, and then I'm going to increase. And then we're going to repeat that. Single crochet 1, increase. All right, moving on to round 4, we have single crochet 2, increase 6 times, and we're going to end up with 24 stitches. So you'll single crochet in the first stitch, single crochet in the second stitch, and in the third stitch you're going to increase by placing 2 single crochets together. So 1, 2, and then we're going to make an increase. And I'm going to repeat that all the way around. All right, that's the end of round 4. Moving on to round 5, we're going to single crochet 3, increase, do that 6 times for a total of 30 stitches. So just like before, we're just single crocheting 1, 2, and 3, then we'll increase. So make 1 single crochet, 2, and 3, and then we're going to increase. And then repeat that sequence all the way around. And that's the end of round 5. Moving on to round 6, we're going to single crochet 4, increase 6 times for a total of 36 stitches. So single crochet 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we're going to increase on that next stitch. And that's the end of round 6. So moving on to round 7, we're going to single crochet 5, increase 6 times for 42 stitches. So I'm going to single crochet 1, 2, whoops, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And on that next stitch, we're going to increase. So 1, 2. I'm going to repeat that all the way around. All right, and that is the end of round 7. Now for rounds 8 through 10, we're going to single crochet 42. So that just means that for those 3 rounds, we're just going to single crochet in every single stitch around, and there's 42. So you're just going to do that 3 times. After completing rounds 8 through 10, you should have something that looks like this. This is going to be the top of our pumpkin, so it's starting to dome. If your piece happens to be looking like this, just push it this way. So moving on to round 11, we're going to single crochet 6, increase. So single crochet 6, and then you're going to increase in that 7th stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then we're going to increase. And you're going to repeat that all the way around 6 times for a total of 48 stitches. All right, and that is the end of round 11. Now for rounds 12 through 14, we're going to single crochet 48. So just like we did with 8 and 10, where you go all the way around each time, that's what we're going to do for these ones. So we're going to single crochet 48 for 3 rows. All right, and that's the end of round 14. For round 15, we're going to single crochet 7, increase for 6 times for a total of 54 stitches. So again, it's just single crochet 7 and then increase in that next stitch. And repeat that all the way around. All right, and that is the end of round 15. Now for rounds 16 through 18, we're going to single crochet 54. So same thing, just single crochet in each of the stitches until you get 54 all the way around, and do that for 3 rounds. After round 18, your piece should start looking like this. Now let's move on to round 19. The pattern says to single crochet 8, increase 6 times for 60 stitches. So I'm going to single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I'm going to increase in the next stitch. I'm going to repeat that sequence all the way around. And that is going to be the end of round 19. So moving on to rounds 20 and 21, the pattern says to single crochet 60. So for 2 rounds, we're just going to single crochet in each of the stitches. All right, and that is the end of round 21. Now moving on to our last increase row for round 22, we're going to single crochet 9, increase for 6 times for a total of 66 stitches. And just repeat that sequence all the way around. All right, and that is the end of round 22. Now for rounds 23 through 28, we're going to single crochet in every single stitch. So that's 6 rounds of single crocheting in every single stitch. I will meet you back here once we've completed round 28. All right, so after rounds 23 through 28, your piece should start to look like this. Now we're going to add the safety eyes. I placed mine between rounds 24 through 25 and 8 stitches apart. So I'm just going to count down from the top, which is the magic ring, all the way down to 24 and 25. And I'm just going to place my safety eye in between those rows. Now, if you can't get it through, I always like to take my crochet hook and insert it into the hole that I want the eye to go into, and that helps loosen up the stitches so that I can get the safety eye in. There we go. And then 8 stitches apart, we're going to add the next safety eye. And with the cotton yarn, you will have to kind of maneuver it around a little bit because the stitches are so tight. All right, so that's where our safety eyes are going to go. Now, before we add the backs, I'm going to make the smile. So with my embroidery thread and needle, I'm going to insert from the inside of the pumpkin to come out. So I like to make mine 1 row above the safety eyes and then kind of have 1 row in between, and then it's that next row. So I'm going to insert it about right there, if you can see, and I'm going to pull it out. And then we're going to go across just a few stitches, so 1, 2, 3, and then insert the needle back into the pumpkin and pull through. But I like to grab a hold of the black thread and hold on to it to make that smile. And then, I'm going to go to this next round, I'm going to insert the needle up through the stitches, and you'll notice that once you start to pull the needle out, you're going to cinch that smile, so you'll create the V. Then you're going to insert the needle back into the pumpkin, and you want it to be as close as possible to the thread, and you'll pull it through and then pull it tight, and then you have a V. So that's your little smile. So then just secure this with a knot, and then we'll trim that off. All right, and now you can add the backs of your safety eyes. And that is the face for your pumpkin. So now let's continue on with our decrease rounds of the pumpkin. Round 29 says to single crochet 9, invisible decrease, and we're going to repeat that sequence 6 times to get down to 60 stitches. So I'm going to single crochet 9, now to invisible decrease, we're going to go through the front loops of the next 2 stitches. So I'm going to insert my hook into that front loop, insert it into the second loop, then I'm going to yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through, and that is the invisible decrease. So repeat that sequence all the way around until you end up with 60 stitches. All right, and that is the end of round 29. So now we're just going to continue to decrease every single round until we finish. So our next round for 30 is going to be single crochet 8, invisible decrease 6 times for 54 stitches. So it's the same single crochet 8, and then invisible decrease, all right, that's the end of round 30. For round 31, we're going to single crochet 7, invisible decrease 6 times, and you'll end up with 48 stitches. All right, and that is the end of round 31. For round 32, we're going to single crochet 6, invisible decrease, and we're going to do that 6 times for a total of 42 stitches. And that is the end of round 32. So your piece should start to look like this. We're closing it up. So now we're going to add the fiber fill. I like to add just a little bit at a time as I go, just because you don't want to overstuff it and you don't want to stuff it all at once. You want to gradually stuff it as you go. So just make sure you're stuffing a lot up in the top, because that's going to give you your little points once we make the sections of the pumpkin. All right, and now I'm going to pause here and I'm going to continue with round 33. So I like to stop just a little bit so that it's not too stuffed on the top, so I can still get those stitches. And then after every row, I will add more fiber fill. So round 33 says to single crochet 5, invisible decrease 6 times for 36 stitches. So I'm going to single crochet 5, and then you're going to invisible decrease in that next stitch. All right, that is the end of round 33. And as you can see, there is now space where you can start to fill in the bottom of the pumpkin, and I like to wait maybe like 2 rows afterwards to do it. So I'll do this next round and then I will add more fiber fill. All right, so for round 34, we're going to single crochet 4, invisible decrease 6 times for 30 stitches. All right, and that is the end of round 34. So I'm going to add more fiber fill to this. And really make sure to get in right behind the face. All right, let's continue with round 35. It says single crochet 3, invisible decrease 6 times for a total of 24 stitches. So, all right, and that is the end of round 35. Now it's time to move on to round 36. The pattern says to single crochet 2, invisible decrease 6 times for a total of 18 stitches. All right, and that is the end of round 36. At this point, I'm going to add just a little bit more stuffing to fill this bottom portion out, but pretty much at the end of this, you're not going to be wanting to add too much more fiber fill, because then your stitches will start to show the stuffing. All right, let's move on to round 37. The pattern says to single crochet 1, invisible decrease 6 times for a total of 12 stitches. And that is the end of round 37. Now we're going to do our last round. Round 38 says to invisible decrease around 6 times. So we're just going to make an invisible decrease in every 2 stitches around. So invisible decrease in the first, and then invisible decrease in the second. So just continue that all the way around until you have 6 stitches. All right, and that is our last invisible decrease. Now, before we fasten off, you're going to want to leave a long tail. And by long, I mean probably 2 to 3 feet. You want to leave extra rather than not enough. After you've cut your yarn tail from the skein, you're going to pull your tail out. Essentially, you're going to just be pulling it through that last stitch that we made. And then just give it a little tug, and that is basically your fasten off. So now you're going to take your yarn needle and let's thread this. Now it's time to close up your piece and to make the sections of the pumpkin. So I'm going to clean this up and close it. So you're going to insert your needle through the front loop, going from the inside to the outside of those last 6 stitches, and then pull this through. So do it to the next one. That's 2. And then 6. Once you get to that last stitch, just push your thumb right at the hole, take the tail and then pull it, and your center will close. Now we're going to start making the sections of the pumpkin. You're going to insert your yarn needle into the very center of where you closed off all of those stitches, and then you're going to weave it all the way up to the center of the magic ring. Now my needle is obviously not the same size as my pumpkin, so you're just going to kind of squish your pumpkin a little bit and then weave it up until you can get it up through that hole. There we go. And then you're just going to pull it through and give it a little bit of a tug. And that's going to make it so your pumpkin indents on the bottom. Now, for the top, you're going to pull it down on one side of the face. I like to go about 3 stitches away from the safety eye, but you can do it however you would like. And then I like to hold where my yarn has been, and I'm going to insert my needle back into that same hole on the bottom. And we're going to insert it and weave it all the way up to the magic ring once again. So then just push it through and then pull. And don't worry if your pumpkin is kind of looking a little wonky, we can shape that and kind of mold it to the shape that we want it to at the end. So pull your yarn tail through, make sure that this is still in your area that you would like it, and then you're going to give it a nice little tug. And that's going to start creating your sections on the top as well as on the bottom. So again, it's a little wonky right there, but you just kind of mold it because the stuffing will definitely shape to how you want it to. So then for the next section, I'm going to go on the other side of the safety eye and go 3 stitches away. And then I'm going to insert my needle back into the hole in the bottom and then up through the magic ring. And then you're just going to give that another tug. And it's going to create the front of the pumpkin. Now for the sides, These are going to be all even, whereas this one's a little bit bigger, just because we have the face here. So for this, you're just going to kind of eyeball it. I like to make 3 sections on the back here. So if you look, it's not going to line up completely with the one across from it. It's going to be kind of off. And then you'll just insert your yarn needle into that hole again in the bottom. Weave up to the magic ring. And then you can also, once you pull it, before you pull it tight, you can just kind of maneuver where you want that section to be, and then just give it a little bit of a tug. And so there's our next section. So you'll have these 2 already done. For this next one, I actually like to kind of put it in the middle of the safety eyes and the mouth. So you'll just drape this kind of in the center there, and I think that that's a really good section. Like, they look the same, so if you do it in the center of this one, and then you're just going to insert your needle again. And give it a nice little tug. And then for the last one, you're just going to put it evenly in the center of these 2. And then just give it a nice little tug. And at this point, you can kind of like shape it a little bit, and that's how I like to get all of the wonky bits of stuffing inside kind of even all around. And give it a nice little tug. All right, so that's going to finish making the sections. Your tail is going to end up on the top, and we're just going to tie a few knots. Now it is going to sit above the magic ring. So make about 2 or 3 knots. This is just to secure those sections. So you can see the magic ring is underneath those knots. Now I'm going to just weave my needle in, through, and then outside of the pumpkin. So you'll see that knot, but the stem's actually going to cover it. And then for this, I either tie a knot again and then just hide the tail inside of the pumpkin. Just for a little bit of extra security on that. So then you can trim, and then just take your crochet hook and pull that little tail through. Come on. There we go. And that is going to be the end of the pumpkin. Now we're going to make the stem. I'm going to be using this ash brown color. To start, we're going to be making a magic ring with 6 single crochets inside. All right, and I'm going to pull the tail to close the ring. All right, now round 2 says to increase in each stitch around for 12 stitches. So I'm just going to put 2 single crochets into each stitch around. All right, now moving on to round 3, it says to single crochet 12 all in the back loop. So I'm just going to insert my hook into the back loop and make a single crochet. I'm going to do that all the way around until I hit the stitch marker. Now moving on to round 4, it says to single crochet 12. So I'm just going to single crochet in each stitch around. Now moving on to round 5, it says to single crochet 3, increase 3 times for a total of 15 stitches. So I'm going to single crochet 1 in 3 of these stitches, then I'm going to increase in the next. So you'll single crochet 1, whoops, 2, and 3, and then in the next stitch I'm going to increase. I'm going to repeat that sequence all the way around. Now moving on to rounds 6 and 7, we're going to single crochet 15. So I'm going to single crochet 1 in each of these stitches for 2 rounds. And that's going to be our stem. So now I'm just going to fasten this off and leave a tail for sewing. Then you're just going to pull this tail all the way through. Now we're going to add just a little bit of stuffing, and I like to take, when I take the stuffing, I just like to roll it in my hands, and then you can use the end of your crochet hook to push it inside of the stem. All right, and that's going to be the stem. Now it's time to add the stem to the pumpkin. So you're just going to place it right on top of the magic ring and your knot. And then I like to use straight pins to hold it in place. Now with your yarn needle, you're going to weave it into the pumpkin, and you're going to come out on one of the stitches on the stem. And then just pull that tight, and then repeat. So go into the pumpkin, and you're just going to repeat this all the way around until the stem is completely attached. Now once you reach the end, you're just going to weave your needle through the pumpkin and come out one of the stitches and pull. And then we're going to tie a knot to secure the stem. And then you'll just cut that off, take your crochet hook and pull that tail through. And then there is your stem. And that's how you make a pumpkin. Have fun and try out different types of yarns and colors to make your very own pumpkin patch. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet tutorials and free patterns. Happy crocheting, friends!